At the age of 22, I was like, yeah, this is my man. This is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. I don't want to date nobody else, God. This is the man for me.
Comfortably me, heavy on me, focused on God and who I'm trying to be. Just living my life, I'm doing it right.
Hi, welcome back. It's your girl, Vanessa Elaine. And if you are new to my channel, welcome. Today is, I'm so nervous. I don't even know why I'm nervous right now, but today's video is going to be all about my testimony, my life before Christ, telling you all the tea on me. Okay, if you thought I was perfect, this is your chance to nitpick at me, okay? Because I'm putting it all on the table. Because I want y'all to know how it was nothing but God that changed my life, that made me the person that you're watching, that you are inspired by, or if you look up to me. Listen, I have not always been this person, but I'm not gonna lie. To the core of me, I've always been this been who God has called me to be. Because no matter when you're in the world, the only thing that's the difference is that the enemy is using what God has gifted you with, or like your purpose. He's using it for his purpose to like forward the world, but and is like under like some sort of like a manipulation, or like is used for darkness. But when you come into the glorious light, you really see what you were made for and what your purpose actually is going to be used for the glory of God. For the glory of God, of course. Okay, so let's get into it. So today is all about my testimony and how God changed my life. And if he could change my life, I know he can change your life, and he can continue to do a new thing in your life. There is nothing that God cannot do. I'm going to just say that 100%. And I just wanted to share my testimony because I know a lot of people who are just now following me, they probably don't know my testimony, right? And they don't know where I came from. They just see me now, and they don't know the journey that I've been on or what I've went through. And although I did record a testimony video, a 2-part testimony video years ago, a lot has changed. And I did go through some new stuff. So I can add on to what was already said. I'm going to link those videos, those 2 previous testimony videos. So if you want to go back and look at that and see how much the story has changed or whatnot, I will link them somewhere right here and also in the description box. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at like, I just don't want to mess up on the timeline. I want to make sure I tell my story correctly and I don't miss nothing. Because this is me being very transparent and very vulnerable with you all, because I just want everyone to know that I am not perfect. And yes, I have a story. And yes, I've been in places, like in dark places. And just to see where I am now, I'm going to try not to cry. Oh, God, please. Please, God. Okay, let's get into it. Okay, so I want to start off. If you don't know, my name is Vanessa Elaine. And I currently live in Houston, Texas, but I'm originally from Florida. I am Haitian American. Both of my parents are immigrants from Haiti. I'm the first generation born in America, me and my brothers. So I did grow up in a 2-parent household with my mother and my father. I did not grow up rich. I did not grow up even middle class. I don't want to say I was poor, because like I enjoyed my childhood because I had come from a big family. So I don't think it was ever in my mindset that I was poor. I just knew there was certain things that I didn't have the luxury of having, or certain things that I know my parents could not afford. And that was okay, because I had everything that I wanted and that I needed. I'm going to just say that. If I couldn't get the new Jordans, okay, like my parents did not splurge on Jordans. They had 3 kids. If it came down to school, we each get a white shoe and a black shoe, and that's going to last us the whole year. Christmas break, you get another shoe. So it's like most people don't even get that. And I did grow up in the hood, so I didn't even feel that I was less fortunate. And I don't even want to think I was less fortunate. To me, I had it living good because I knew people in my neighborhood who were doing a lot worse. So I thought I lived pretty good. I used to go on vacation, although the vacations were in Haiti. But there's some people that never even been on a plane. So yeah. But I did grow up in low income housing, the hood. I'm gonna refrain from saying I love the hood. I keep saying that, and I was like, I'm not gonna say that no more. But I grew up in the hood, and like I said, I did grow up in a 2-parent household with my brothers. I am the middle child, and I am the only girl from my parents. My parents are married, but not to. I could just hear my mom in the background. Don't tell people your business. So I don't want to get too much into, but I have to share what's real. So although I did grow up in a 2-parent household and my parents were married, well, still are married, my dad did have children outside of the marriage. So, of course, my family was not perfect. I come from a broken home. I did witness a lot of abuse, physically and verbal abuse while growing up. And I witnessed a lot of things that I wish I would have never witnessed. Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna cry. Let me get some tissue. Got my tissue. So I did witness a lot of that growing up, and I could not really express myself and how I felt because they would tell you like that's adult business, or I witnessed like my mom going through certain things. And I don't want to say she didn't act like nothing was wrong, but she'll still get up and do what she's supposed to do. Like everything was okay, and it wasn't. So growing up seeing those kind of things is kind of like you don't know where to be mentally. So that did kind of foster like some kind of like anger within me because I did not know how to express myself. And I knew looking back, I know that's where the anger came from my childhood. So now I'm in school, and it's not that I was bad in school, but I had a bad attitude. Like, it wasn't so bad. I don't know. I'm trying to reflect, but I used to get suspended a lot. So I know I was doing something wrong because I kept getting suspended. But sometimes those teachers was nitpicking at me. Since I was already labeled like the trouble child, anything I did was like, oh, referral. They didn't even give me a chance, like whatnot. But I can remember before I jump into like middle school, I remember in elementary, I lived in a hood. So everybody in my neighborhood is black. Okay, black, African American. It's probably like 3 Haitian families, and nobody comes outside. So we were the only kids that went outside, that were able to go outside. Because if you know anything about Haitians, they are very strict. So I did have a little freedom there. But I remember a few white people came to our neighborhood, and we were like, what the? And they were like knocking on doors doing evangelism, and they invited all the kids to church. They had a church called Christian Love Fellowship. Shout out to Christian Love Fellowship in Deerfield Beach. It's no longer there where it was. I don't know if they moved or they just canceled the church into its entirety, because I know the pastor did pass away, but I think his brother, I'm not sure, but yeah, that church planted a seed in my life. I'm going to just say that. So they went around evangelizing, passing out flyers and saying that they'll pick us up on a church bus, that the parents don't have nothing to worry about. They'll pick up the kids at this time outside the gate, because it was a gate. It looked like, child, it wasn't a gated community. It just was a gate around the buildings. Okay. But they'll pick us up at like 9 a.m. So I would go to church. That was my first introduction to church. But let me just go back, because I remember going to my grandma's church. My grandma used to go to church religiously. My parents did not go to church. So I did not grow up in a household where Jesus was taught to me, God was taught to me. I don't even remember my parents even having that conversation with me. But it was like, you knew to believe in God, right? But I really did not know who God was and what God can do. But my grandma did go to church religiously. But remember, I'm Haitian, and she goes to a Baptist Haitian church, and they were very religious. I remember going to church. I did used to go to church as a kid, but I used to fall asleep in church. So that was nothing. But I remember I think I was like around 10. I went to church and I didn't like my legs because on one of my trips to Haiti during the summer, mosquitoes really bit me up. So I had all these like mosquito bites, and then I had chicken pox. And so I had all these dots on my legs, and I was very insecure about it. But I remember going to church, and my parents just bought me like this pantsuit to go to church. I looked so nice in my opinion. And I came late, so I was in the back of the church, and the church was about to let out, and the pastor said, before you go, he said it in Creole, of course, and he was like, before y'all go, I don't ever want to see women or girls wearing pants. And as everybody was leaving, everybody was looking at me, and I was looking at everybody because I'm like, I'm the only woman/girl with pants on. So that message was for me, and I just felt like so judged, and I felt like this was not taught to me. Like, why would you kind of make me feel like I'm out of place and like I did not belong? So that was the last time I went to church. Fast forward, that's when the people came and evangelized, and they said they would pick us up. And that's where that seed was planted about Jesus in my life. And that's where it all started. They would have Bible trivia. The church was very edifying. But let me tell you the drama that I'm going to just speed right through this because it's very childish. And my dad is crazy. So I was a big evangelist, to say the least. So my grandma and my aunts, they lived in a neighborhood called Golden Acres in Pompano Beach, Florida. If you listen to Kodak, that's where he's from. So, and I would always spend like my weekends there, or even during the week, my parents would like drop me off there, or like we'll visit my grandma. Like, so I was there out of a week, maybe three times a week. Okay. Like my entire childhood. They had this contest at church, and they were like, if you invite people, you get a candy bar. So I knew I'm well known in my grandma's neighborhood in Golden Acres, and I'm friends with everybody there. So at the time, the church only had one bus. I evangelized so much that they had to get another bus to be able to pick up everybody in a short time of like 3 months. I invited not only those people, but I even invited people from school. Everybody was going to church because of me. Thank you, God. I'm just now realizing that like the church had to get 2 buses, 2 big school buses. It was always over capacity. So the ministry, the children's ministry, the teen ministry quickly grew. So I stopped going there like around like my sixth grade year. So I was like 12 years old. That was the last time I stopped going to church because my dad found out I was talking on the phone with a guy, like a boy from my grandma's neighborhood, that was like my little boyfriend. Yeah, so, Haitians, they're just over dramatic, and it turned into this big old thing. So now I'm at a new school, and I got in big trouble. Like my dad whooped me, and it was just like based off of a phone call. Like they didn't catch me doing anything with this person. I was still a virgin, and it was just basically like very innocent. And I got beaten so bad that you saw the whelps on my skin. I had to go to school the next day with a big jacket because if I would have taken that jacket off, my daddy would have went to jail, which he did end up going to jail because something like it got exposed to the police that he did do that to me. So I was going through all of that. They changed my school, so I won't be in contact with the boy ever again. And I could not go to church anymore. So it felt like after I stopped going to church, everybody just stopped going to church. And I'm not saying it was because of me. Like, I don't think I'm like this person, but I just noticed that it was a shift. Like a lot of people that I would ask, are y'all still going? No. So I don't know what ever happened to that. But once I stopped going, that was it. I didn't go to church ever again until fast forward until when I got saved. Well, fast forward until like until I was like 17, I worked at a job, and it was a young lady there who would invite me to her church to visit. So I would go and visit, but I would never become a member, and I was still living my life. Like I was still entertaining sin. So let's go into middle school. now I'm very angry. They done changed my school. I feel like I have no privacy, no freedom, and nothing is ever being spoken to me, like telling me why I can't do these things, why I can't talk on the phone with a boy. When you tell a child or you tell a kid or you tell anybody, you can't do this, it makes them defensive, and you just can't. I know a parent is a parent, but it's just like, give a reason why. Because in a child's mind and a kid's mind, there is out of innocence. So they don't see the wrong in it or the dangers in what the parent is trying to protect them from. So if my parents would have sat me down and verbalized, okay, this is why we don't want you to do this, I think I would have been a lot more receptive towards what they were trying to convey. But that just made me rebel. And the fact that I started to rebel, I started to act out in school. So there were times I would fight, I would get arrested. But let me tell you about God. God always had his right hand on my life. He knew I could not get no record. And I don't know why, because where I am in life, like he knew that I can't afford for this girl to have a record because that's going to set her back. I have been in so many cop cars and in handcuffs, and by the grace of God, they always, like on the way to the facility, like to the jailhouse, wherever they're going to bring me, they stop. And they always give me a speech like, this is not you. Every cop would tell me that, like, this is not you. And they don't even know me. And they are saying, like, this is not you. And they will uncuff me and tell me, go, or have somebody pick me up where I am. They would never even bring me down to the facility. They will always give me a second chance. And I'm just so grateful for that. So even when I know there's some bad cops, but my experience with cops, I'm going to say this, even though I do feel some type of way how they treat my people, but my experience has always been that. My personal experience where they have gave me second chances, and I'm so grateful for that. But I know that was nothing but the hand of God on my life, because it's not like I was a cooperative person. I was cursing them out while they had me in handcuffs because I felt like y'all gonna already take me down anyway, so I might as well leave with a bang. That was me, and my mouth was very dirty, very dirty. So that's what I'm saying. Like, God has did a number on me. So fast forward into my high school. Now I'm in high school. I forgot I started a gang. Yeah, I started a gang, y'all. In my 7th grade. Was it 7th grade? Yeah, I had started a gang, but that quickly was short-lived because the cops were like, oh no, they're wearing black tees on Friday. And initially when I started the gang, I listed like 7 people. I was like suspended from school. And I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of being suspended. I want to build an organization. Look at me trying to build an organization for darkness. I don't think I had an initiative. I just wanted a girl group. Like, I wanted to have a stance where everybody knows us and everybody knows that they cannot mess with us. Like, once you mention our clique, you know, like, they not nothing to be messed with. Thank God that didn't like flourish, because I'm a part of the kingdom of God. Once you say the name, the blood of Jesus, all things flee. Okay. Yeah. But so the gang was called 7 Deep because originally it was only 7 members. I don't know how quickly word got out. Well, it did get out quickly because I think I came back to school like on a Tuesday. Friday, I put out a memo. Back then, there was no computers like that. Well, we did have computers, but not really. Everything was really word of mouth. And I was like, yeah, everybody that's a part of the gang has to wear black tees on Friday. Like, that was my thing. Everybody wearing black tees on Friday. Why do I get to school? And it's not even when I get to school. When we go to lunch, I was like, okay, after lunch, mind you, I don't know. I only think it's the 7 people and a couple of other people that said they're going to wear black tees. And I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm thinking like 10 people. I'm going to have 10 girls wear black tees or whatnot. Why do I get to school? We go to lunch. After lunch, we meet up in like the courtyard, and it's about 40 girls wearing black tees, and we're like going crazy in the courtyard. The cops quickly came like, oh no, we shutting this down. They saying gang organization. Oh no, we shutting this down. Like the news spread so quickly that there's a gang called 7 Deep that is being formed. So yeah, that was the last time. They said we would quickly get arrested, and I'm like, oh my God, I cannot even catch a break. Like everything I was doing, like was failing. Chill. But fast forward to high school. So high school is when the drama just started happening. And I was going through a lot in my life because a lot has transpired, and I felt like this is like the downturn. I started dating this guy. And mind you, I went into high school as a virgin. I started dating this guy, and it wasn't long. I was the only virgin out of all my friends at the time, and they spent the whole third block talking about how good sex was. So the fact that I was dating this guy, I felt like I was ready, which of course I was not. That's how peer pressure works. So peer pressure comes in different forms. And I think the most effective peer pressure is the one that just plants the seed. Like, it's not them really telling you to go and do these things, but it's like keep bringing it up and talking about it, like planting a seed. And now you're thinking about exactly what they're talking about and thinking that, oh, well, maybe I should do this, or maybe I should get into this. So that's what was happening. And I did it, and it was downhill after that. Literally, that relationship did not last. So I was broken as a teenager. You know, you're not supposed to be doing that. You living at home. You can't tell your parents because you're going to get in trouble. You don't know who to talk to because you have friends that are entertaining the same thing. So they don't know right from wrong. They don't know what to tell you. It's just like, okay, well, move on. Get another guy. So I started dating this other guy, like my sophomore year of high school. And that person I dated for a while. I dated him up until my early 20s. And that relationship, I don't even know what to say because I just, because I know there's some people that may know me, and I don't ever want anybody to look down on someone because that person did play a significant role in my life. And the things that I have went through with that person weren't always good, but I still respect the person. I still have a love for the person. And I still wish the best for that person. And yeah, and when you trauma bond with somebody, right? We had similar backgrounds, similar, when I say backgrounds, like we grew up in similar households. So I think that's how we kind of bonded. But the relationship was very toxic, and he wasn't the only one that was toxic. I was very toxic as well. And it was mentally and physically abusive and verbally abusive. So I stayed in that for years. So imagine being in high school and you're in a relationship where you're being physically abused. So, and it only got worse as the years went by. And the fact that I never saw my mother walk away, I didn't know how to fully walk away. I know that's not a great excuse. And I would even hate to put that on her. And I remember having a conversation with her, and it didn't go so well because she didn't understand, like, don't put that on me. I had kids and you don't. So it should be easy for you to walk away. And I wish that was true, but I identified that kind of as love. And it's sad to say that I even thought that way, but that's what it boils down to. But I knew it was wrong because I felt so lost and I felt so broken and I felt so angry and I was being hurt. Like, it wasn't a great feeling. So I knew I could not stay there. And I just remember one time going to church with him, and like we were visiting a church. Listen, you gotta have some friends that believe in the Lord. Like they have a relationship with the Lord. One of my friends, my good friends, she used to always go to church. Like she's out of nowhere, she just started going to church, and I used to always like hanging out with her. And I remember one day I was like, oh, let's hang out. And she was like, I'm going to church. Like she didn't even change her plans. She's like, well, I'm going to church. I don't know what you're doing. We can't hang out, maybe after church. And I was like, okay, well, I'll go to church with you. End up going to church with her. And that church was the church I got saved at. But it took me years to get saved, y'all. I just used to like going to the church because I could tell the message was different. Like I never heard the message of God preach in that way. Never heard anybody speak about forgiveness, because I used to hold on to grudges. Okay. I used to fight a lot. Yeah, I was a fighter. Yes. By the age of probably like 20, I already fought like 13 people. So it was just like, it was a lot. Like it was very toxic, and it wasn't in, I don't want to come off like I was just this mean person, but I always felt like when somebody was trying to come up against me, I always felt like I had to defend myself. And the only way I knew how to defend myself was to fight. So it's not like I went out searching for fights or to fight people, but I didn't tolerate mess. I didn't tolerate, or you talking about me? Let's fight. Like instead of like having a simple conversation of talking this thing out as young girls, I just was like, no, I'm going to show you. I could beat you. Like that was like my mindset. So like crazy. Now you couldn't even pay me to fight. Child, I'm calling 911. Can we talk? But and back to the story. So I remember going to church with him, the guy I was dating. And at this time we were dating for like five years. And he was going through something. I just felt like, well, I wanted our relationship to work, so let's just go to church and stuff, you know. And I went to the church because I know the church that I went to, the pastor is a prophet. So I remember sitting in the back of the church with him, and he had his head down and I had my head down. We were supposed to be praying, and the pastor comes off the pulpit, from the pulpit, comes all the way to the back of the church and says in my ear, which was very loud, I'm so surprised that he didn't hear, he said, God said he is not it. And I just immediately started crying, because one thing about God, he will quickly tell you what you need to let go. And sometimes we don't want to most times we don't want to let go. And this is somebody I'm going home with. Like, yes. And I just didn't know how to walk away. And of course, I didn't walk away. I stayed. And in me staying almost cost me my life. And that's the thing about being disobedient to God. When God tells you to do something and you are disobedient, the consequence, there's always a consequence when you disobey God. And sometimes you don't want to pay that cost, because that cost may be too much. The last time it got physical between us, he said he was going to kill me. And literally there was no one home except for us. Prior to that happening, we were fighting. Well, it was basically me trying to protect myself and protect like my face and things, so I wouldn't get any marks on my face or whatnot. But it was just abuse for like an hour. It was like an hour. So nobody's home to save me. I'm yelling, I'm screaming. Nobody's coming. Not a neighbor hearing me, nothing. Like I was like, yeah, this is done. I locked myself in the bathroom. He breaks the door off the hinges and whatnot. So I finally get free, trying to run for the door. He blocks it. And I just remember I was trying to go to the kitchen to grab a knife. And he grabs a knife before me. Or I think he grabbed the knife out of my hand. And I'm like, okay. So now I'm like kind of in surrender mode. And he's like, I'm going to kill you. And I knew that to be true. And I knew that in the state that he was in, that it was possible for him to do it and then do it to himself. Because I don't think he would live with the fact that he did that. So I just knew like, oh my gosh, what is my mom going to say? That's the first thought in my head. Like, who's going to tell my mom? And I just remember praying in my head for like a split second, God, if you save me from this. And in that instance, literally in a matter of seconds, he drops the knife and goes into his room and closes the door without saying a word. After fighting for hours, after saying he's going to kill me, he just drops the knife after I said that prayer. And mind y'all, I am not saved. I am not saved. And even after that, I did not go to God. I did not get saved after that. I continued my life in the world as a broken person. Like God did not just save my life, but I called on God to save me while I was going through something traumatic, and I still did not think to give my life to him. And that's what happens to many of us, that God has saved us from so much, and we'll always call out when we're in trouble. And once he rescues us, we turn our backs on him. Because I'm thinking about how many times have I turned my back on God? But he has never turned his back on me. He has always came through. May not have always been on what time frame that I wanted, but he has always came through at the right time, at the very right moment, because his timing is perfect. So getting over that, fast forward, now I'm just out here dating, living my life, drinking. I wasn't a big drinker up until the age of 21. Like, I didn't really drink before age, but I remember dating guys that didn't live in the same neighborhood as me, and I was dating guys who lived a different lifestyle. And I want to say this, the guys that I did date were always like drug dealers or scammers. Yeah, drug dealers and scammers. So now that I'm dating scammers, this is a lot different. I'm just going to say that. So I started dating this guy, and I just remember like it was the third date and everything. I'm thinking like, oh yeah, this is going to be the next guy I move on with. Like, okay, this is the next serious relationship I'm going to be in. Like, it's cool. I like it here. I really like him. And I just remember him telling me, oh, I have something to tell you. And I'm like, what? I'm like, oh gosh, here it is. He's like, I'm married. And I'm like, what? And I'm turning in the car, and he's driving like 90 on the highway. We're headed to like South Beach. And I'm like, what? And he's like, no. It's not like that. What is it like? And like, wait, don't tell me y'all separated. I'm not falling for that. Okay. I done heard enough testimonies. So he's like, no, it's not like that. I'm married to two spirits.
Say what now?
So remember, at the time, I'm not saved. I really don't know much about spiritual things. I'm not filled with the Holy Spirit. I don't have any discernment. And I'm like, what? So I knew it was some sort of witchcraft, because what do you mean? And I was like, what do you mean? I really didn't even understand it when he said it. I'm like, what do you mean you're married to two spirits? He's like, the reason why I'm telling you is because I'm about to go do the ritual, and I have to wear these rings, and I don't want you to be alarmed when I start wearing these rings. So I wanted to tell you up front. And you know what it is I have two spirits that I'm married to that protect me, and they go wherever I go. And it's like I think he said Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have sex with them. Like, so you can't come in the room. Like, you can't even probably be in the house, or you have to go sleep on the couch. Excuse me? And then I just started and you would think I would stop talking to him. No, I was still talking to him. But luckily, by the grace of God, thank you, Jesus, I never had sex with that person. Because if I did, I know that soul tie would have been very hard to get out of. Although every soul tie is a struggle, but I know that would have been extreme warfare because of those spirits would have drove me crazy. But I remember hearing around like the neighborhoods and from other people how he dated this young lady who was African American, and I guess of course she probably wasn't too privy of like that. I don't even think he probably even told her. I think the reason why he probably told me, that's nothing but God that he told me, because that did kind of turn me off. Like, I knew like I didn't want to do anything with him, but I just didn't know how to stop talking to him. Luckily, I started talking to somebody else, and I just moved on. You see how that, child, but won't God do it? So I remember, and I remember just hearing around the neighborhood that the girl that he dated previously prior to me, she went crazy, and she's like walking on the street now, like talking to herself, like she's like with one shoe on, like she's out of there. And I'm like, okay, now it's all making sense. And I remember him telling me like, the spirits, one is more jealous than the other, and they know if somebody is not for me. Like, if somebody doesn't have the right heart for me, they attack them. And I'm like, oh yeah. And then just after that, slowly, communication was broken off. I started dating other people, and literally I seen him on the news. Fast forward, and I was just like, oh God, thank you, God. So I was just wanting to share that story because a lot of people go through that. You don't know what somebody else is entertaining. That's why it's so important for you to date somebody who believes in the same thing as you, because it's so dangerous to be yoked up to somebody that is entertaining other gods or entertaining witchcraft or idolatry. Especially if you think you're gonna lay down with that person and y'all not married, and you don't think you're gonna pick up mess. You don't think you're gonna be bound to binded with this person in a soul tie. That whatever that person is struggling with now becomes your struggle. Whatever that is in that person's bloodline, meaning whatever form of witchcraft is now something that you're going to have to battle and struggle with as well. You don't know what spirits that person is housing. And now you open your body, your portal to all of those spirits. So that's when sex outside of marriage is so dangerous. I just wanted to say that. So fast forward, now I am in my early 20s, and I start dating this other gentleman, and here we go again, chill. I don't even want to get into that. I ain't getting into that. So I started dating this other guy, and that relationship had a major impact on my life, to say the least. That person did show me I don't even want to talk about him. I don't. No. Certain things I don't even want to discuss because I just want to leave people out of it. I remember, I'm going to fast forward where, so after all of this is happening, I'm still entertaining certain things, and I'm drinking excessively now. I remember dating this guy, and we would go out like every day, and I would get drunk like almost every single day. I would get drunk, and I wasn't working at the time, so I was kind of like his responsibility, child, just living a fast life. Quickly, my life became very different, where I just was one of those girls that was dating like I was in the streets. I was definitely in the streets, like wake up in hotel rooms. Like if you are familiar with that kind of lifestyle, you know what that lifestyle brings, like sex, drugs, money, illegal money. I used to live in a strip club. Like that was like the hangout spot, going to strip clubs. It was just a lot. It was a lot. I was doing things that I had no business doing. I was doing things to please a man, thinking that if I do these things, he would love me more, or he would take me more serious, because I was so in love with this person, right? And this person, in my mind at the time, was amazing to me. Like, this is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. Like, I was stuck on that. I was really, at the age of 22, I was like, yeah, this is my man. This is the person I want to spend the rest of my life with. I don't want to date nobody else, God. This is the man for me. Hey, ooh, isn't it always a man? Isn't it always a man? But the enemy knows your weakness. Because I grew up in a broken home, and I wanted that family. I wanted that male validation. I love to be in love. I wanted that security. I wanted that covering, right? So that's why those relationships played a major role in my testimony, in the way I felt about myself, because I put those relationships on a high pedestal. The person I was dating was definitely a deceiver. Long story short, I can laugh about this now, because before it would have me crying a river, literally. But I can definitely laugh about it now. I'm just going to make this very quick without giving too much detail, because I done told this story so many times. I just remember finding out that this person had a child while dating me. And it wasn't like, oh, this person had a baby on me. No, he went in to building a relationship with me, building a connection with me, expecting a child. Chose to not disclose it to me right away. And then when the person did disclose it to me, he did it in a way that made me feel kind of comfortable, didn't make me want to run, and was like kind of like, you know the game. So That was that. And it was so hard for me to leave that situation. That was a soul tie that was very hard for me to break. Very, very hard, because the emotional tie to that person was very deep. And I'm going to honestly say the soul tie was so deep that if I was in a room and I had my head down or I had my body turned and that person walked into the room, I can feel his presence in the room. That's how connected we were in the spirit. That's how connected we were, that I can feel him walking in the room, because there were instances where I had my head down or my back was turned and I felt him walk into a room, and a room where it's full of people. Like, I'm talking about a store. I'm talking about not a house. I'm talking about a store, and I feel him walking into the place. So that soul tie was very deep, and it was very hard for me to break. I got saved. So after going through that relationship, I did feel like I was kind of like betraying myself. I knew that I was settling, and I just felt a weakness. I felt like I was lost. I felt like, why am I even living? I felt depression coming upon me. Like, everything that I have went through, everything that I have gone through in life up until that point at the age of 20, at the time I was 23, I felt like it was a lot. And I got ran over by a car that the person was in after having an argument. So I have a big scar on my foot, right? And and I'm not gonna lie, I played a part. Like, I was always so angry because I was so in love with this person, and I knew that he could never love me the way that I loved him. Like, I don't think that was possible, because I knew we could not be together. Let's just be real. I'm just gonna be real, like. So, and it was just like, I felt so betrayed and I felt so wrong that you put me in a situation like this and you didn't give me a chance to kind of like choose. One day I go to church, like was I on crutches? I don't know if I was, but I remember going to church, and with that same friend, we going to the same church. He came to pick me up. So I'm going to church, and I was going through so much. I went in so heavy, like, so depressed and so full of darkness. And it was a guest pastor, which I wasn't happy about, because I'm like, oh my gosh, my girl is not preaching. I only would go there to hear the word from that pastor, that specific pastor. But God had a message for me that day. So as I'm sitting down in the back of the church, once again, we love the back of the church, huh? So the woman, the guest pastor was preaching, and she was praying over people at the altar. She stopped praying for whoever she was praying for, and she looks and points to the back of the church, and she says, God said that you are coming. God said you coming. And I at first I didn't know who she was talking to. She's like, and I'm looking around. She's like, no, you. She's like, no, you. God said that you are coming. You coming. And I just started crying, but I really didn't interpret that at that moment. I didn't really know what that meant or what that was going to cost me. I really didn't know. When she said, I just started burst out crying, like, oh my God, God is speaking to her about me. Okay. God said I'm coming. Okay. Literally the next Sunday, I was saved. I got saved. I gave my life to Christ. And what's so crazy is that I don't remember that Sunday that I gave my life to Christ. I just remember that day and that message that woman spoke. I even remember looking at her. I remember exactly what she even had on and how she had her hair. She had on purple. I remember all of that, but I don't remember the day I got saved. I just remember God said you coming, and literally I came. Because I'm like, man, I was ready to give my life to Christ. Like, I'm talking about for real. This is not no play. I went on, I learned about fasting. I'm like, and at the time, I don't think nobody told me about fasting, but I know the Holy Spirit was like consecration. At the time, I did not know I was going on consecration. I did not know at the time I was going on consecration, but I remember telling all of my friends, like, hey, for 30 days, I'm not going to use my phone. I'm going to go on a fast. It's just going to be me and God. So if y'all don't hear from me, don't be alarmed. And if y'all want to pop up on me, y'all can, but I can't entertain any conversations. I just want to be with God. And I deleted like my social media at the time, which was like Instagram. I go on this fast, and mind you, I forgot to tell y'all this. While I got saved, the person don't know I got saved. Like me and him were not talking at the time. We were at odds, but the fact that like I turned off my phone, I didn't have a phone. So now this person is kind of like looking for me and like pops up at my house. And I'm like, I don't want to talk to anybody. But then here I go back. And I'm like, I'm gonna save my body for marriage. But literally every 4 months I would fall. And before falling, I remember sometimes you're not able to leave right away what God is trying to save you from. I'm going to give this, like sometimes you're not ready to leave the situation. You're not ready to leave the friendships. You're not ready to leave that relationship. But when God calls you, trust me, when God calls you and you say yes, oh, he's going to take you from whatever you're battling with. Oh, he's going to make sure you come, that you don't turn away from him ever again because you said yes. You said yes. And what literally happened, I was still trying to entertain that situation because it was so hard. Remember, I'm still in this soul tie. I didn't even know it was a soul tie at the time, but I just couldn't like break free from him. And I knew it was wrong being with him. I knew like, oh, we're going to end up probably having sex, which I don't even want to do anymore. And that's basically what the relationship, like, that's basically what we were doing at the time. Like, because I knew that this was wrong. And I no longer kind of enjoyed it. I did not enjoy it. I would cry all the time. And I remember like praying to God, like, well, God, save him for me. I bet God looking at me like, girl, I have so much more for you. This person is not for you. This person belongs to somebody else. Okay, this is not for you. But I just was so convinced, like, I don't think I want anybody else. I think this is who I want. And what we are willing to settle for when we don't know who we are, so dangerous. Because the woman I am today is looking back at the decisions that I was choosing to make and God was calling me out of it. And I'm like, wow. But one thing about God, the time that we wasted, he repays us back for that. So praise God for that. But I remember praying that God saves this person for me. And God is like, girl, no. I remember having a dream. Mind you, I'm not a dreamer. So when I do dream, it's something. I was laying in bed with this person. And in the dream, I was laying in bed. So the dream was very vivid and it felt so real. And basically, God revealed to me what was happening. Like, this person is still with the mother of his child. And clearly, it was clear as day in the dream that I woke up thinking that the dream was real. Girl, it's like, oh, you're crazy. You know, of course, they always tell you you're crazy, child. Okay, you might call me crazy now. The Holy Spirit always seems crazy. They call you crazy, right? But it's true. I might be crazy now, but watch. The truth is going to set you free. So, fast forward. I put my phone in his car. One day and I followed him and I found out the truth and then boom. Now I'm like, okay, God, I'm leaving this alone. You thought I left it alone? No, I didn't.